Curious, from what you've experienced up to this point, why do you think they called me to come out? Like, what do you think your leaders, why do you think they thought it was a good idea to come have this day? What else? A little bit of mental toughness. Have you guys ever felt that there's goals that you've set and you just can't get there? And everyone around you just tells you to work harder, do more stuff, add more onto your plate. And it's like, I'm doing everything, but I can't seem to figure out why I'm not where I want to be. You guys ever felt that way? I remember when I used to do summer sales, I did it for 5 years. And every single year I would hear from, our leaders would come in and they'd say, you just need to work harder. You just need to knock more doors. And I would sit there in the chair and I'm like, I am knocking every door I possibly can. Why isn't this working out for me? Why don't I sell the million? Why can I say the exact same words as the top performers in this company and get very different results? You guys ever thought about that? And then you feel like you're not enough, or it's just not for you, or you're just not that guy, and you start to blame yourself. Have you guys ever had that experience? Like, be honest. If you look at your last year, how many of you hit the goals you set from the year before? Like a few? I can't tell you how many workshops I do for summer sales and door-to-door groups. And I walk in there and I say, okay, raise your hand if you hit the goals last year. And I maybe get 5 in a room of 50. Think that through. What's the gap there? Why do I set these goals and I can't do it? Because someone in this room did it, right? There's a reason you thought it was possible. It's because someone did it. Why is it available to them and not for you? You guys ever had those conversations with yourself? Raise your hand if that resonates. And so what I'm here for is resilience. I want to help you fight the mountains in your life and be able to rise up when challenges come. But I'm not going to sit here and give you some motivational speech that says, hey, do more, work harder. Hard work isn't the answer. Do you really think Elon Musk works 100 times harder than you do when there's only 24 hours in a day? Hard work is a finite resource. Okay? There's got to be something different. I want to help you guys systematically create change in your life. Motivation is a myth. It helps you get started, but it's not going to sustain you. Change is systematic, and it's in your head that we can systematically create change and change form and structure so your mind and body can work for you rather than against you. And once you do that part where your mind and body starts working for you, your brain naturally presumes growth. It wants it. It craves it. Does that make sense? So, I want to tell you guys a story, okay? So, I want you to guess who in that picture was me. 31. Actually, no. So, yes, I was 31. I was always the smallest guy on the football field, okay? And I grew up with 4 older brothers. And my whole goal in life was to keep up with them. If they were going to hit hard, I was going to hit hard, no matter what it cost me. Same thing with dirt biking. If they were going to hit a big jump on a dirt bike, I was going to hit a big jump on the dirt bike. Even if I hadn't ridden as much as they did. I had a brother who rode every single weekend, and I rode maybe twice a year. But by golly, if he hit that jump, I was sending it right after him, and I would end up crashing many times. In football, my other brother, if he hit hard, I was going to hit hard. But the only problem was I would do it with bad form, and I did it wrong a lot, even to the point to where I hurt myself, where I ended my junior year in football with 10 plus concussions, and I wasn't able to play my senior year. And when I did that, I ended up having a lot of issues that came from it. I had a lot of bloody noses, I would randomly pass out, and I had a list of things that I needed to deal with. How many of you guys were sports guys in here? Okay. I would assume that a lot of you guys aren't still playing. How hard was it when one day to the next that sport was gone? Right? It enveloped so much of your life that one day to the next that was gone. You guys ever, was that hard? Was there a little bit of an identity crisis there? I remember when that happened for me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had lost a lot of my friends. I had lost a lot of what I was passionate about and what I was doing. And I needed to figure out who I was. And so I laid on the floor. I had the sad song on and everything, feeling bad for myself. And I realized there was a time that I needed to rise up. And, you know, I had a mentality growing up with these 4 older brothers that because I always wanted to keep up with them, I also thought that they were often going to be the ones who solved my problems, which means I often waited for someone or something to come and save me. I was waiting till someone could solve my problems. I waited till I had the perfect area when I was out at summer sales. I waited till somebody could tell me that one-liner that was just going to make the biggest difference in everything that I was doing. And as I did that, I found myself always falling on my face and not knowing why. And I would often blame myself. Why am I not enough? I remember in football, there was one time I was at a game, and our coach, Jared would know this, Coach Miller, would often say starters put themselves in the game. And so I put myself in the game as a starter. There was only one problem. I kind of sucked. And so I put myself in the game, and they say, Brock, why the F are you in the field? I go off. I shake my head. And he says, Brock, do you ever want to start? I said, yes, coach. And he goes, then you can't do this. And obviously all those insecurities start coming up. Why am I not enough? Why can't I figure this out? And that followed me all the way up until I started Neuromastery. Okay, I start this business and I'm off on my own. I don't have anybody in this with me. I'm sitting in an office creating my own problems, hoping they work out. Have you guys ever felt that on the doors where you're sitting there and you're knocking door after door after door and you're just like, why? Why can't I get the sale? Why isn't this working out? Why am I not getting as many sales as these top guys? I'm doing everything. And I started reaching out to prominent coaches in the area, hoping that they were going to tell me what to do that was going to make the difference. And I got on a call with one coach in particular, and it was about a 15-minute call. And by the end of it, he says, Brock, you should quit what you're doing. Come back when you've done something meaningful. And that cut all those insecurities. Why am I not enough? Why not me? Why can't I do this? I'm passionate about it. I've read the books. I know how to help people. Why not me? And a week later, right? But also I was okay with it because a week later, I was okay with it, but because I reached out to him, I got his advice, right? It was like, okay, I reached out to you. You gave me your advice. That's what I wanted. But a week later, he wrote an entire blog about our conversation about me. And that really cut deep. And I considered quitting. And I said, I don't know if I'm up to snuff for this. I don't know if this is me. I don't know if I'm that guy. I don't think I'm good enough. And I did what I do best, where I got on a bike. And I started, it was a stationary bike, and I started to pedal, and I just said, I'm going to stay on this bike as long as I can until I figure out why not me? Why can't I be that guy for once? Okay? And I turn on these shaman drums. Okay? And they sounded a lot like this. This is not the page. Okay? So I turn on these shaman drums, and I'm like, I'm staying on this bike until I figure this out, right? So I get on the bike, and in the first hour, I was just sitting there blaming him. And I said, well, he sucks. He's not even a good coach. People don't even like him, right? Have you guys ever thought that in your area? Well, he sucks. My manager doesn't know what he's doing. Mad at your wife? Hey, she doesn't know what she's talking about. All of it was just blame. He's not that good. I could do this. His people don't even like him, okay? But I still felt anxious. I still felt like I wasn't enough. And so I was like, okay, I gotta go deeper. So now I'm on the bike, I'm sweating. I'm about 2 hours in, 40 miles deep, and I'm just pedaling away. And I still got these shaman drums on the whole time. And I'm like, I'm staying here till I figure this out. I get one level deeper. I start blaming myself. And kind of that self-pity victim, right? I'm not good at this. I don't think this is for me. Maybe I'm just not that guy. All those insecurities start rising and I just can't figure out. But I still felt anxious. I still said, that can't be the answer. This can't be me. So I stay on the bike, right? I'm on it longer. Now I'm in about 2.5 hours. I'm hitting 50 miles, right? And I'm just sweating. And then all of a sudden I had this moment where my mind just started to expand, and I asked myself, what am I unwilling to learn? What am I unwilling to learn from this? And in that moment, I started to then realize that what he was saying, I shouldn't be mad. There's a lesson to be learned, okay? And so the biggest takeaway that I had from this is hard is only hard unless a lesson is learned. If we continue in hard, and hard is just hard, and we just try to get through it to the other side, what we do is we continually self-sabotage and self-destruct. Just like, have you guys ever seen The Incredibles and Syndrome, where he's in the big circle and he just starts stabbing himself? That's how I felt in that moment, that I was just continuously having the same problems repeat themselves over and over and over again. And the problem was I was too stubborn to learn the lesson. It was the same thing with football. I was too afraid of being embarrassed, and so I was unwilling to slow down, get the footwork wrong, to then get it right. Right? I always caught the ball with my arms because I knew I could catch the ball with my arms. But coach would never put me in the game because if you got a good corner on you, he's going to hit the ball. But I was too unwilling to ever drop the ball to actually learn right, and so I continuously faced the same problems, and I just prolonged how long I was in this pain. Rather than just embracing what I was in and deciding that I was going to face whatever it was and get it wrong as many times as I need to, I had to be willing to fail in order to have the opportunity to succeed. And so I did that in my business, okay? So I get to this point and I said, what am I unwilling to learn? What am I unwilling to be embarrassed about? Well, maybe I don't have the credibility that I thought I did. Maybe I'm not that guy yet, okay? But I could be. I could be that guy. I'm just not him yet. And so immediately after that moment, okay, I spent about 3 hours on the bike. I get off. I call my wife and I say, hey, Kelsey, I'm going to sign up for a 100-mile race. Because I know that in that I will face myself enough to where I can become the person that I need to. Okay? But as I started my training for the 100-mile race, I get into it, right? I start running, I put on the miles. But I tried to bring old habits with me and old identities, which I was doing more than most, right? I was running good miles, like 50, 60. But was it enough for me to be the person I needed to? Right? If you're running 50 miles a week, do you think that equals a 100-mile race? It was better than most. I was doing things other people weren't. But was it enough? What do you guys think? Okay, so I started in that. Then I had this moment where it's like, okay, I'm not that guy. I cannot set the standard at what I used to. I have to become someone new. So what I did is I went out and I set 4 100-mile weeks in a row. And I said, okay, I'm going to do 1 month of 100-mile weeks, which is averaging about 17 miles a day. Okay? I had to force myself into creating a new character. And so what I did is as I went down that path, I started to notice my mind started to change, how I saw myself, the confidence I had, the credibility, the energy that I brought to the people around me. And all of a sudden, my mind started to expand and see myself differently. And one thing that I realized is, have you guys ever felt that people criticize you? Or like you have that like FEA mentality, like F them all, like all these people are out to get me. They're saying they doubt me. Have you guys ever been that? Like, I'm going to prove the haters wrong. You guys, raise your hand if you've heard that. So one thing that I realized is that voice that I thought I was hearing from other people, the entire time was really just my own. That was a reflection of my internal world. And I needed to solve that first. Because everything that I thought other people were doubting me on, it was really just the doubts that I saw in myself. But I was unwilling to ever think that way. I thought I was enough. I thought I was good. But those are the shadows and the emotions that our body is unwilling to face. So then, I learned a very powerful lesson that I want to share with you guys today. So we have self-improvement, okay? And then you have self-healing. Self-improvement, what that is basically that's your goals. That's, I'm here and I want to be here. It's a point A to point B, right? I have 0 cells, I want 100 cells. And so you're going after that. How many of you guys have set goals this year? Okay. How many of you hear every time on Instagram, this is the perfect morning routine. Add this in and you're going to have the best day ever. How many of you have tried that and then failed like a month in? Why do you think that happens? Why do you think you set goals and the process would work systematically, but you can't do it? Where's the gap? What is it? What do you guys think?
Difference between motivation and momentum. Like, you're motivated initially, but you don't carry that momentum going forward.
Yeah, partly. I think that's good. But I'm going to challenge that a little bit, if that's okay. Because a lot of that's the mentality. It's momentum, it's discipline. I just got to do it. I just got to show up and do the thing, right? But all of that's a self-improvement, and then you just end up stressing yourself out, feeling like you're not enough because, hey, I want to do this thing, but I'm not doing it. Hey, I want this morning routine. I need the momentum. How do I get the momentum? The problem isn't the what, okay? Knowledge is very rarely the problem, right? Like, think about eating healthy. If I were to ask you in this room, it's fairly simple, right? Eat whole foods. If it has one ingredient, it's healthy for you. Eat a potato, eat steak. But how hard is that to do? Right? Like, many of us don't do that. Knowledge is not the problem. The what is not the problem. I could give you the perfect workout program in the world, and it doesn't matter if you don't do it, right? But the problem isn't the what, the problem is the who. And that's the self-healing portion that I had to learn. Self-healing, okay, this is your shadow work. This is your emotions. This is the becoming. It's not a matter of going from point A to point B. It's about the evolution of yourself and learning that you need to become the person who is healthy, and then the food naturally follows. I had to face certain parts of myself that I was ashamed of, that I felt that weren't enough. I had to face the parts of me that I hid from the world because I felt like I wasn't enough. And if they saw that, then I wouldn't be enough. And I was so afraid of that ever being seen that I constantly let myself down and sat in this place of quiet desperation, hoping that someone or something would come and save me. And that portion of self-healing is where it's not a point A to point B. It's understanding that I am whole as I am. There was nothing I ever needed to fix in the first place. Self-improvement says, this is what I need to fix. This is how I'm going to do it. Self-healing says, I am whole as I am. And the thing is once you understand that you are whole as you are, the self-improvement becomes darn near inevitable. Your brain naturally presumes growth. It wants it so badly that it will do whatever it takes to continue in it. But the thing is in which direction are you growing? Right? Me in football, I would continually catch the ball with my arms. Did I get really good at catching the ball with my arms? Yes, I very rarely dropped the ball. But was that going to get me to be a starter? The thing is that when it comes to improvement, choice is an illusion. Okay? If you really want to be great, you don't get to choose. It takes what it takes. And so it's a matter of us changing ourselves into the type of person who can handle that type of stress. In that 100-mile race, I had to change who I was to fit the race. That mountain did not care how good my intentions were. That race was not going to change the distance, even though I really wanted it. It didn't care if I was sick. It didn't care if I was up late the night before. It did not care. The race was going to be what it was. So it was my job to become the person who could run 100 miles. A lot of times when it comes to success, we think we can grocery shop what we're willing to do and what we're not. We say, oh, this fits my identity. This fits who I am. This is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm not. And then what happens is, then we're all mad when it doesn't work out for us. It's allowing ourselves to take on the identity of that person, and then it naturally becomes a part of who we are. You guys with me? So talk to me. How have you guys seen this in your life so far? How do you guys relate to this? We're going to open up in this room, guys. Okay? Here's what we're doing today. We did the physical pillar. We got 4 pillars today: physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. The point is, one of the things your leaders talk to me about is they want you guys to bond. They want you to know each other. Part of this is understanding what we're all going through. How do you feel like you've seen this in your life? Anyone else have an experience? Or just me? No? No one's had anything? No one struggled here?
I mean, for me, it's a constant battle with being a leader. I always feel like I am hard on myself with the improvement. And what you said on there is that I wrote down, what is my 100-mile race and what kind of person does it take for me to accomplish that? And I think oftentimes in this job, it's easy to beat yourself down with not doing enough or not being enough, or because there's so many things to do that you start viewing yourself as not someone that's whole. And so it hit me hard with just viewing through the lens of self-healing and recognizing that I am whole, and just becoming more of that person that can take on those challenges.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to help you guys with the implementation there just a little bit, because I love that. It is true. It's viewing yourself as whole, but how do you do that? How do you do that? Right? Have you guys ever felt like you have that imposter syndrome where you're like, I don't feel like I'm that guy. If I step into that role, where do you think that comes from? Right? The part of that where you go in and you face those demons, where you truly go in and you say, okay, I'm going to face this part of myself. It's not adding all these things. It's not adding in the breath work. It's not adding in the workout. It can help. Those are tools. But part of it, okay, where you feel like, okay, I'm the leader, okay? Why does that scare you? What lesson have you been unwilling to learn? What lesson is there that's hard to face?
Insecurity.
Yeah, it's am I enough, right? How many of you guys have in your room ever thought that? Am I enough? I can say I have. I thought it this morning. Right? And the thing is where you face that is you go in and you love it. A lot of times, especially when it comes to imposter syndrome, is there's a child inside that felt forgotten about, that didn't receive the love that he ever needed. And so you go in and you say, hey, look. And the way that I define love isn't necessarily that, romantic way or love and freely excitement. It's endure. It's what would I be willing to endure for that thing? And so you go into that part of yourself and you say, look, I understand you're scared, but I love you and I'm going to help you get through this. It's the same with the ice bath. How many of you went into the ice bath and you wanted it to be hot? Right? You're you kind of go in thinking, okay, I'm going to do this breath work and it's going to heat the water up. Did any of you guys think that? So many people have that expectation and you're I don't want this to be cold. But the thing is if you take away the cold, you take away the transformation. The cold is what molds you. The cold is what transforms you. If you take it away, you also take away the transformation. So hard is just hard. You're just in it and white knuckling it and then you're done, you get nothing. I've done that. I remember days where I knocked doors and I would run to every door, but I was just doing the same thing over and over again, got nothing out of it. I worked for free. That was so sad, right? And so where you go into the cold, you understand, okay, what can I learn from this? That's the best question you could ask in the self-healing is what is the lesson here for me in order to grow? The lesson of the cold is that if I can hold into this, I know I'll be stronger. I know I'll be healthier. My dopamine's going to go up 300%. My norepinephrine, which is the adrenaline's going to go up 540%. If I stay in this, I get 6 hours of benefit. I can suffer for 3 minutes for 6 hours. Right? Fair trade?
There's a guy I like listening to. His name's Michael Beckwith. And one of the questions he always challenges people to ask is, what lessons or new opportunities are emerging in my life now? And I like that question because whenever you're going through something hard, when you can view the opportunity or the lesson, it's more of accepting the hard and being willing to learn or experience those things that are going to help you be better. 100%.
And I take that one step further in my life where I say, look, I got to love the parts of me that I think are so deep and so dark that I don't want anyone to see it. Like depression. How many of us are scared of depression? I do not want to be that person who's stuck in bed all day, sad about what's going on. But a lot of us experience it. The thing is one thing, where you look at depression, and this comes from a place of healing, it can be one of the most beautiful emotions in your body. The reason why is because it tells you, hey, I'm not aligned with the character that you're choosing to play right now. Okay, well, what character do I want to play then? Who do I want to be? Anxiety. Anxiety says I'm fearful of the future. A lot of times I feel incapable. Okay, if I feel incapable, what part of me feels inadequate? You start to look at it from that perspective, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities because you say, oh, now I get to grow. And it changes this fear into excitement. And honestly, in your body, as far as neurochemicals goes, it's the exact same ones. But the reaction is completely different. And so when you look at it, I want it all. I want anxiety. I want depression. I want happiness. I want excitement. I want everything this world has to offer because those are the moments where I get to grow the most. On a 100-mile race, you look at it and you're like, I don't want to be at mile 80 where my legs hurt and I want to quit. But it's where your mind has the opportunity to expand and become something you never thought possible. Those are the moments where we get to become greater than who we are now. You experience parts of yourself that you never did. Okay? Did the TV turn off? Let me see. Maybe it's because I didn't push a button for a sec.
While he's getting that, what are some takeaways so far? Curious.
Like the one where he's talking about living life like you're grocery shopping, like picking and choosing what you can do, where really you shouldn't be doing that. It's like, okay, I'm putting it all on the line. This is what I need to do, rather than okay. But for instance, like a diet. Yeah, I got these 4 Reese's. I'll just do an extra 20 minutes on the bike. Where really it's like, fuck that. Don't eat the 4 Reese's. Just do the extra 20 minutes on the bike on top of that. Or like, let's say on the doors. Okay, yeah, I got 4 appointments with Bill. I can just fucking coast. Or, shit, I got another 2 hours I can go knock. Why not get 8 and then have 3 closed deals the next day rather than 1?
Yeah. I think a lot of us focus on self-improvement a lot, but we don't realize how much we need to focus more on self-healing to get that self-improvement. I feel like a lot of this job, especially when you're in a leadership role, like that's what you focus on is like improving yourself. But I think a lot of us think of it in the wrong direction. We kind of get stuck a lot of different ways.
Exactly. I love that.
I was gonna say, I feel like we're our biggest critics, right? Like we're the hardest on ourselves, and like, it's a big eye opener. It's like my 4-year-old, I was struggling, and she's just like, "You're the best dad ever," and I'm like, just like hitting me. It's like, okay, I'm enough, Like I don't just keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's saying, hey, I'm enough, right? But what parts of me need the extra love? Why? Like when I'm a critic to myself, having that honest and brutal conversation where it's like, is it right? Right? Is it right? And if the answer is yes, like I had to have that on the bike, right? He said something that really hurt my feelings. And I wanted to quit, and I wanted to be mad, and I wanted to tell him he sucked, and everything. Like I wanted to be mad. But the thing is like he was right. In a lot of senses, he was right. So what I did is I had to have that honest conversation. Okay, who do I want to be? Well, I want to be someone who can help. I want to be someone who has the availability to be there when people can't be there for themselves. I want to have that opportunity to help people when they can't be there for themselves. So I got to be able to go places that they're unwilling to go. So then I have that when I need it. And so I started to build that systematically, because you cannot give something that you do not have. Like think about it. If you're out with your wife, someone steals her purse and runs off. If you have not trained for that moment, what are you going to do? If you can't run, you can't run. It's not like you're all of a sudden going to have it. A lot of times we think about it with food. Like if you're putting unhealthy food in your body consistently, right? Your body can't make something from something that's not there. If you don't put vitamins and minerals into your body, you think it's all of a sudden going to have vitamins and minerals? No, what it does is it makes do with what it has, which is why we get a distorted body. Is that, are you with me there? And so emotional intelligence and regulation, right? You look at the self-healing part. You have to be willing to go in and face those parts and say, hey, look, I love you too much to let you do that. I know you got a big day tomorrow, but I want to play video games with the boys up late. I love you too much to let you do that. Like, I believe that self-discipline is the definition of self-love. You love yourself so much that you won't let yourself go down that path because you want to be healthy. You want to have that life. You want to be that person. And then the self-improvement becomes inevitable. You really don't even have to focus on self-improvement if you've done the self-healing, because your brain will naturally just want it. Like, for me, I don't run races because I'm trying to feel some insecurity in myself to be better than who I already am. I just want to see how far I can go for the love of the game. I love to be able to be there for my family. I love the lessons I get to learn, in those moments of complete tiredness and desperation, and you just want to quit. It also takes away a lot of the nonsense and distractions of my life, and all there is truth. All you have out there on the trail is yourself. And it's like, am I going to rise up to be that person to finish this race? Because it's just me. That's all you have. There's no nonsense. There's no distractions. There's no talk. It's just get up the hill. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide. Or you got it? Here, do you need this? It's why 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Because I want you guys to see this. I'm going to teach you what's going on in your brain. Because we're not just going to talk about it, but I'm going to show you how to create change. Oh, did we lose it? Oh, frick, dude. What are we doing?
Did you try to connect something from your phone on here?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do an activity really quick. Guys, quiet down. We're going to stay with this, okay? So what I want you to do, have you guys ever heard of the reticular activating system in the brain? You guys with me? You guys ever heard of the reticular activating system in the brain? Okay, it's basically a filter. Your brain processes about 2 million bits of information every second. How many of it do you think it actually retains?
Less than 1%.
Oh yeah, super low, right? It's like 40 to 100, right? And the reason, how does it choose what's important and what's not?
That's a good question.
Based on who you view yourself as.
Partly belief systems.
How you train your brain to do things.
Familiarity, okay? It's whatever you consistently focused on. So familiarity is huge. Whatever you've consistently, so like if you're consistently using harmful thoughts to motivate yourself to move, where do you think it's gonna go to and keep and filter? Okay, so I want to show you guys how this works, okay? I want you to look around this room and I want you to find everything that you can find that's red, okay? So look for everything that's red and I'll give you just a couple seconds. Okay, you got it? Okay, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Hey, close your eyes. Now I want you to tell me everything you saw that was blue.
Doritos, Chai pomegranate shoes, strawberry peanut.
Okay, open your eyes.
He said it was blue. Oh shit.
How hard was it to think of something blue? Right? You got a little bit of blue on my hat. You got the water bottles. Got some shoes, hats. Isn't that interesting how your brain filters out all the information? But what if blue is what was going to help you? So we have what's called a reticular activating system in our brain. And what that's doing is it's filtering out information, okay? And then once it filters out the information, then it takes it up into your prefrontal cortex where it makes a plan with what to do with it. You rationally think it through. Then it goes to your hippocampus where it's learned or remembered, okay? Quite a process, right? And the thing is if we're acting out of emotion constantly, okay? Emotion's not a part of that system. That's when you're calm and you're collected. Add emotion into that, skips that process, goes straight into your emotional brain, okay? And then it just gets unorganized. And you get these parts of yourself that don't necessarily have a place to go. And so then what happens is we get these distorted outcomes and we start to think that that's our reality, that that's our normal, and that's who we are. Okay, so imagine right here, your body craves what's called a state of homeostasis. okay, which is basically just balance in your body. And it's going to obsessively try to come there as much as it possibly can so it can return back to a place that it feels like you're normal, okay? But what happens is, let's say you're anxious all the time, okay? Let's say you're anxious and you feel scared to do things, or you just feel like you're inadequate, or you're having those self-talks, that familiarity. You knock that normal out of whack enough times that becomes your normal. Your normal becomes anxiety. Your normal becomes stress. Your normal becomes self-sabotage. And when that happens, let's say you're on fire, things are going good for you, you're feeling good. Where's your body going to want to go back to? Is it going to want to stay there even though that's what you want?
Back to stress.
It's going back to stress, and it's going to find ways to get there obsessively. It's going to return back as much as it can. Like if anger is a normal emotion for you, it's going to say, I want to go back to anger because that's where I feel the most comfortable. Even though consciously you're like, I hate that about myself. That's why it's important to show yourself the self-love, because in that moment you can say, hey, look, I hear you, anger. I know you want to express yourself. But that's not what we do anymore, because that's not in our best interest. And you have to knock that balance out of whack again and again to create a new normal. And that's what I'm trying to show you today, okay? When you're out there and you're pushing through, right? And your legs are burning. How many of you noticed at which moment you quit? Was it genuinely because you were going to tip over because you couldn't do more? Or was it because it hurt? Right? Why'd your brain decide that that moment was the one that hurt? Instead of at a minute. Who set that bar? It's the standard you've set in your life for who you are. And those are the moments. Who said that long in the ice bath was as much as you could do? Your familiarity. That's the moment in the standard that you've set in your life to say, this is who I am, this is how I present myself, this is what I'm going to do. And so your brain's just reacting from that place over and over and over again. And what we do is we just then assume that that's our normal, and so we're reactive forever. And we stay in this loop over and over and over. That's why the self-healing is so important, is because we have to set a baseline of who we are. And then we can start to say, well, I don't like that part. I want to be this. And then what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to lay this brick. I want to learn courage, right? So if I had Frankenstein over here and I said, okay, I want to teach Frankenstein courage, what would I have to put him through in order for him to learn courage? What do you think? Yeah, right? Which would that be comfortable or uncomfortable? Right, he'd have to have some moments of fear, but he'd have to rise up anyways. Okay, let's say I want to teach him strength. What would he have to go through to learn strength?
Hard shit.
He'd have to do some hard things, because you got to break down to build back up, right? Universal law. But often we count ourselves out of that equation. Why do we think that we're different? We think that we just have courage when it comes. Like, you think in a moment where someone threatens your family that that's just going to be there because you decided that it was? Like, you're not going to have something that's not trained. And so the point is that you start to take offense on your life and you say, this is who I'm going to be. This is who I represent myself as. This is what that looks like. And you start to build that person, okay? And what that looks like and what that's called is neuroplasticity. Have you guys ever heard that word before? Okay. So it's basically, creating new connections in your brain. You're just trying to create new neurons that connect together so that way you can continue to do that. But a lot of times what happens is, like, let's say you're looking at addictions, okay? And you're like, okay, I want to get rid of this addiction in my life. I don't want it to be a part of me anymore. So what do? We try to cut it out, right? But in that's your normal. That's the standard you've set. And so you leave a gap in your brain. And one thing to know about neuroplasticity, okay, is you're never going to eliminate an old pathway. It's not going anywhere. The only way they go away is old age or disease. And seeing as neither one of those are really convenient to have, we have to create a whole new pathway. You're not just going to start to say, I'm not doing this anymore. Does that make sense? Are you guys with me? You create a whole new pathway that overrides it. So you set the baseline with the self-healing portion and you say, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. This is my plan of action to do that. You systematically create the change. And then it's just a matter of showing up and understanding that as you do, you still love the anger. The anger can be great motivation. The anxiety is a good indicator of where you feel inadequate. Depression's a good way to know that you feel like you're not enough and you don't like the character you're playing. You may not like courage. Maybe that's not part of it. It's like, hey, I don't really care to be courageous. I just want to sit at home. I'm okay with that, right? But maybe I really want to be more patient. I can't seem to figure things out with my wife. We seem to fight a lot. I want to learn patience. Okay, then that means I have to put myself in a stressful situation and stay calm. Ice baths, right? Great place to learn patience. Those are opportunities where you can start to build those blocks, develop those traits, and build who you want to be, and systematically create that change. That's where the growth happens. Like, it's a universal law, guys. Hurricanes make the most flowers. Forest fires make the best trees. We, as humans, are no different. We go through these things to where we grow. The cold is what shapes us. The fire is what molds us. There's certain things that are going to grow us, and doing these hard stuff is what's going to help us become the person that we want to. And in that, we just start to create that excitement about the opportunity to grow. Does that make sense? Did we ever figure this out, Cam?
No.
Okay.
Are you guys connected to the Wi-Fi on both the TV and that?
I think so. Okay. We're good. Honestly, we're almost done. So guys, in this, I want you guys to think about one thing. You guys heading out? Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what's going through my mind right now.
Huh?
How do I spell neuroplasticity?
Very careful.
Neuroplasticity.
Save it to the mic, bro.
But, so last part, guys. We're here to learn. We're here to grow today. Okay? And I want to make this worth your while. And I want to make sure that we all are here intentionally. Okay? Like I said, I'm not here for motivation, and I'm not here just to help you guys have a good day. That's part of it. We're going to have some fun along the way. But I want you guys to achieve the person you want to become, the who. Okay? So I want you guys to take out your phones really quick. Okay? Pull up your notes. Okay, and in that, before we write anything down, I want you guys just to close your eyes. Okay? Close your eyes for a second. And I want you to see yourself as your highest and best form, achieving everything you ever wanted. I want you to completely indulge in the person that you want to be. I want you to see yourself achieving everything you could ever dream of, hitting every goal that you want to. Now what I want you to recognize is who you needed to become to be that person. What did you have to go through? What lessons did you have to learn? What traits did you have to develop? And I want you to focus on who that is. Okay? And when you have a good idea of what that person looks like and what they feel like and what they think and behaviors and traits, I want you to open your eyes and I want you to write it down. And today we're going to focus on developing that person as much as we possibly can. Okay, and as you guys are writing them down, some of you guys are finishing up, I want to just open it up for questions. So I know this is probably information that you might have heard, maybe not. Some of it might be new, but it kind of opens up Pandora's box. You're like, okay, what is this whole emotional world? So I want to open it up for questions so that way I can help it fit to what you guys are dealing with currently. As you see the kind of the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Phil, like what questions came up for you during that?
For me, it was like, how am I staying consistent was a big thing. A lot of times we say things and then we'll be consistent for a little bit, but as time goes on, we don't continue to be consistent. So I just asked myself, how do I become more consistent?
Yeah. So what do you feel like's been stopping you?
I just feel like sometimes, like when I am consistent, like it's good, but when the going gets hard, when I get even more busier, the consistency lacks and things get cut down.
Yeah, starts to kind of be like, oh, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where your normal is, right? So you've set that normal at this point, I give up, I quit. So one thing that I would do is try to go to that place, recognize at what point you quit. Start to recognize what the thoughts are, what the emotions are, what the feeling is. And once you recognize that you're in that state, don't try to push and say, okay, to comparison and say, I need to be doing, what Jared's doing. I need to be doing that right now, right? Like that may not be the case. Try to do just a little bit more and stay in it. So it's like that go one more mentality. If you guys know Nick Bear, it's just, okay, I'm going to stay in this just a little bit further than I normally would. And as you recognize those moments, you'll notice your body starts to adjust. Sometimes when I get in the ice bath, that's a great moment for that because your mind starts speaking, right? You can know at what point you quit. It's like, you're done, get out, get out, get out, you know. And as you get to that place, you say, okay, I'm going to get to that place 3 times. I'm going to get to the first time where my brain says, get out. And then I'm going to push through that barrier. One more, and then I'm out, right? So it's like, I'll get through 3 barriers where I calm it down, comes back up, calm it down, comes back up, calm it down, then I'm out. And some things like that can really help on the doors. Like let's say you're really tired and things start to get hard, like you're not getting sales. And it's very easy to want to go to the movies or stay at home or just hang out, right? And, it's like, okay, at what point does that come up? And how could I do just this much more today? And that's it. And then you'd be done. When you're done, you're done. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So just kind of minimize it. Don't try to make it big, just keep it small, but do a little bit more than you did the last time. Okay, we'll go here and then here.
For me, what came up is how do I make, I tend to get obsessed with things, and how do I make that harmonious with other parts of my life that are important to me?
Yeah, explain that a little bit more so I can understand.
So, just a few days ago, my wife sent me an Instagram video of, the special moments and, with your kids from being 0 to 4. And it's like, how do I make that? That's obviously a big why for me, why I work so hard. But how is that, harmonious with supporting them, showing up for those moments, obviously through intentionality, and also, making, just harmonious.
Yeah, no, I relate a lot to that. I'm a bit of an obsessive person myself, and sometimes that's hard. And what I believe in those moments of finding that is indulge in the obsession. Allow yourself to win. Give yourself permission. Don't try to say, I shouldn't be this person because it's too much, or it's unrealistic, or other people don't relate. If you're really going to do something special, exceptional, it's in the word. You're going to be the exception. People won't relate to you. People won't understand why you do what you do. And you have to be okay with that. And sometimes that's the part of you that needs the most love. Giving yourself permission to win. Okay? But there's another part to it. Where you find that harmony is you set proper expectations with yourself and with your loved ones. At what point do you go home? At what point are you going to say, hey, this is more important than this? Priorities are going to come into play a lot. These are my priorities, and this is in this order. And so you have proper expectations was in these moments, I'm going to work. That way your wife knows, family knows, and that's just a standard set. But then also she knows when to expect you. And it says, hey, I will come for these moments, and this is when I'll know. So that way you pre-make as many decisions as you can. Because what you get is decision fatigue, because you sit there and you wrestle with yourself. Am I doing enough? Am I doing not enough? Should I be home? Should I not? And the more decisions you have to make, the more likely you are to make a bad decision. And so what you do is you try to pre-make those, so that way your wife knows what to expect and you know what to expect. But allow yourself to indulge in that part of yourself that wants to be great. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yeah, I'm writing that down.
Yeah, so I would just, with your wife, set proper expectations on when you're going to work, when you're not, when you can come home, when you can't. And that way it helps with predictability. Like the brain loves predictability. This is for everyone. If it can predict the future, it can relax. Like, have you guys ever seen Dark Knight? So he's like, in war, we can go out and kill millions of people, but because that's the normal, it's just is what it is. But if someone says they're going to blow up a hospital, everybody goes all berserk, right? It's because the brain loves predictability, even though they're very similar things. Make sense? So as much predictability as you can set with yourself, it helps easier. Like you can do that with anything in your life. Like when things get hard, at what point it's like, okay, I don't quit when I'm tired, I quit when I'm done. Well, at what point is done? So kind of having some of those is helpful.
I would just ask, like, what are the little things to get to that point of being that guy you want to be? Because obviously, like, you can't just do it in one big moment. Because I feel like I struggle a lot with, like, procrastination.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it later. Or after this, I'll go on to that. Making myself do it.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a lot about this in our next workshop. It's on design. But there's 3 steps to it. One is design who you want to be. Set that expectation. Because really in reality, like, there is no later. There's no tomorrow. It just, like, if you want to be great and if you want to get lots of sales, like, all you're doing is inhibiting what you can do today. Because, like, tomorrow you still have 0. Does that make sense? Like, every day washes itself. And so it's not like there is a tomorrow or later. It just is what it is. All you're doing is inhibiting future selves. Does that make sense? And so setting that, it's like understanding, okay, this is who I want to be. Like for me, I have preset, like I want to be someone who shows up and does well with what he does in the process, which means I'm going to study, which means pre-makes the fact that like I'm going to study, I'm going to do a good job while I'm there, and I'm going to finish when I'm done. I'm not going to quit in the middle. It's just not in the blood, right? So that option has then been taken off the table for my brain. But the part is like, sometimes you start small, work big. It's not one big moment where everything makes sense and you stop procrastinating. It's a million small turns in the right direction that add up over time. So it's just saying, okay, this is the best I have with the knowledge and abilities that I have available. This is what I'm going to do. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, well, both of those kind of points, like the predictability and then his kind of segued into mine, but like right when I close my eyes and like just right away kind of the instant thoughts like who you want to be, and it's like, you know, I want to be in a private island, on a yacht, whatever. But then like when I was thinking that, it kind of spiked up there, and then it went down to like, you know, like what, like I could be on this island or whatever and have everything, but like if I'm not within myself, like the island means nothing. So then I kind of like backtracked into like things that are like important to me, like having, you know, family and friends by my side, like faith, things like that, and that kind of stair-stepped into like making it to where who I'd want to be rather than just being on this island with nothing.
Exactly. Well, the who inevitably creates the island. Like if you're someone who understands the principles of finance, you'll naturally have enough money to get the island, right? But a lot of times we focus so much on the island that we forget the part of the who, and then we never get the island, and then we're mad at ourselves for not being that person. Focus on the who. Like if I focus on being a healthy person, if I'm out there running races and lifting every day, like you think I'm not going to have a six-pack? Right? Like inevitably, if I focus on being a healthy person, the six-pack will be there. But if I focus on the six-pack, there's a good chance it doesn't show up. Does that make sense? I think an activity would be really fun here that I want to show you guys. Is there a stick in here or something?
Jack.
No, that's okay. Is there like here, this chair will work. This chair will work. Okay. Hey, who's the highest jumper in the room? Who can jump the highest? You? Who can jump the highest?
Me? maybe earlier today.
Here, come here. Okay, I need someone to help me hold the other side of this chair.
Oh, he's not getting up on the chair. I'm not getting anywhere near.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do, okay?
I collapsed today.
I want you just really quick to try to jump just as high as you can, okay? Just as high as you can possibly go, just do your best.
Have you ever even touched the rim before?
Give him a round of applause.
Let's go, come on.
Oh!
Whoa! Okay, that's pretty high. Okay, now what I need you to do, I guess I can just do it. Okay, no, it's good. Okay,
You do it better.
I need you to jump over this chair.
Just jump over.
Just jump over the chair. Okay. Okay, I'm going to teach you guys a principle here.
You almost fell over.
Okay, I'm going to teach you guys a principle. Perfection. How many of you guys think perfection is possible? Okay, I believe it is. But a lot of times where we set perfection is getting it right. Doing it like everybody else's standard. But the problem with that is we're going to constantly let ourselves down. That perfection doesn't exist because you're focused on someone else's perfection and not your own. Perfection is doing the best with the knowledge and abilities that you have available. Like where you're saying, okay, I procrastinate. Start with where you're at. What's the best I have with the knowledge and abilities that I have available? I'm doing that. Okay? Did he jump this chair perfectly?
For him, yes.
No, he did not. The first time he jumped perfectly. It didn't matter how high he jumped. He barely cleared the chair. He could jump all the way up to here. That was not perfection, but I set the standard here, so he barely cleared it. We do this so much in our lives. We say, here's a chair. This is what's good. Okay, I'm going to jump it. See, I'm not very good. I got a bad knee. I heard it. But I heard it on my race. But anyways, see what I'm saying? Like for me, that could have been perfection because that's the best I had. But for him, that's not perfect. He can jump to here. Does that make sense? That's perfection. It doesn't matter how high you jump. When you start running, I don't care how fast people go. It just matters that you're out there doing the best you can. Okay? So now, learning. Okay? So you got perfection, doing the best with knowledge and abilities that you have available. Learning now, okay, is same circumstances, different behavior. So I want you to take perfection and learn your lesson. Okay?
No more bare minimum.
I want you to take the lesson.
Watch out, Grant.
Hey, can someone stand by the windows?
Let's go. Wow! Woo! Let's hear it for him, guys. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Did you notice his version of perfection? Okay. Then you have intelligence. Okay? Intelligence is rate of learning. Okay? So you have perfection, which is doing the best with the knowledge and abilities you have available. Learning, same circumstances, different behavior. Okay? Intelligence, rate of learning. How quickly are you going to realize that you're wrong and get it right? That's where the self-healing is. It's having that part of yourself and self-awareness to say, hey, I was wrong. This is what I can learn, and this is how I'm going to do that. And then you do the best with the knowledge and abilities you have available. It doesn't matter if you get it right. Who said what was right? Who said in solar that 100 cells in a year was a lot? Who set that standard? Why not 200? I remember in door to door, it was like, cell and pest control takes about 15 minutes, right? If you're doing pretty good. Okay? Who set the standard that 10 was a lot in a day? Drew Hansen recently just broke that and hit 20 a day, pretty much for the full summer. He stopped believing that that's what was good and just started to do the best he could with what he had available. Set a new standard. And it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing in the room. Do the best you can do, and eventually you're going to jump really high. If you jump this chair enough times, you will get a very high vertical. Does that make sense? So does that help answer? I know for you too, that's the help answer your question? Okay.
I was just going to say, kind of relating to that stuff, I said procrastinator, that resonated with me a lot, but just kind of going back to the beginning of your training, the big thing is that's putting a label on himself, saying like, I am a procrastinator. So it kind of gives him leeway when he gets to those points to do that sort of stuff. Like I do procrastinate anyway, so kind of like going back, you gotta like, you said this kind of at the beginning, but recognize kind of who you are so that you can start making those little steps to fix that stuff. Like now I recognize I'm a procrastinator. I'm gonna try and push past that kind of.
Yeah. And could I help you just change the wording just a tad?
Yeah.
I hate I am statements.
Yeah.
I know that goes a lot of the self-development industry, but I hate them. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's too permanent. Like there's moments where I procrastinate, but there's also moments I don't. And I'm really good at those. So I'm not a procrastinator. I procrastinate at times. Right? When that coach talked to me and he said, Brock, you should quit. Right? I could have said I'm not enough. And it's like nails on a chalkboard. I hate it. Because in that moment, maybe I wasn't enough. I wasn't that good. I wasn't getting what I wanted. But that just means I wasn't there yet. I could learn and develop myself into that person. And you can too. That's the point. It's like I take who I am, the knowledge and abilities, and then I jump as high as I can, and I continue to jump as high as I can until I get to where I want to go. Make sense?
I was on Doug Cartwright, I enrolled in his coaching program, and we were talking about something similar, and he was talking about accepting some of the hard truths of life. And two of them, I don't remember the third, but the first one was that there's always going to be uncertainty. And then the second one is there's always be constant work. So sometimes, often is like the provider of my family, right? I have financial goals of where I want to be when I reach that time when I'll be financially free. But it's like if any of us got a $100 million check and we were financially free and we were to go and do that thing at a private island and go celebrate or whatever, we're still going to have to work on our relationships. We're still going to have to work on all these other parts of our work. And it just hit me hard of like, dude, stop fighting like the hard truths of life and these pills. Accept them and then work with them.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it all. Like there's so much beauty in the hard work. Because what you do when you stop embracing it and you try to fight it, all you do is prolong your pain. You just stretch it out. If you just immerse yourself, it becomes a beautiful part of your growth. Because it's like, oh, I now have something to work with. Like think of blame, okay? Let's say you're mad at your wife. And you're like, nope, you're wrong. Kelsey, you're wrong. and you sit there and you fight. All you're doing is one, putting them down and prolonging how long you're going to fight for. But when the finger of blame points at your own chest, because I'm not going to change her. Even if I don't like what she's doing, I'm not going to change Kelsey. She is who she is. She has to make the choice to change herself if she wants to. That's not my job. But when I blame myself and I say, no, I'm wrong. I didn't do this right. I actually can have some control now. I can do something about it. I can make the choice right then that I don't want to be that person anymore. I want something different. Like, so you can blame the hood, you can blame your managers, you can blame your wife, you could but when you just are like, no, this is this is what I'm doing right now and I don't like it. All of a sudden it opens up so much freedom because it's like, oh, I can be someone different. See what I'm saying? That's the beauty of life. It's like, oh man, I'm feeling really depressed. Like, what part of myself am I misaligned with? Oh, this is the character trait I want to develop. This is who I want to be. Well, now I know how to do that. Does that make sense?
I mean, just imagine a life that you were living where you never, where uncertainty and constant work never got to you. Like it never affected you. You were just, I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is with that, it's like with fear. Like, have you guys ever heard the scripture, perfect love casteth out all fear? Okay, when you have perfect love, it's not the frilly romantic, right? It's what would I be willing to endure for that thing? Perfect love casteth out all fear, but it's not that it makes the fear go away either. It just makes it irrelevant. It's not a part of the equation. It's like, yeah, I'm afraid. I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, this is scary, but I know this will develop me. I want to be this person, so I'm going to do it. So it doesn't make it go away. It just makes it irrelevant. It's not a part of the equation anymore. It's not like when I was out there doing those lunges that my legs weren't burning. They were. It's just I have a relationship with that type of pain because I've been there so many times that it's like, I know I'm okay. It still hurts. I had the buildup, but I just knew I was fine. I'd been there enough times. Does that make sense? Any other questions?
I just got something to add on to it. I think one of the biggest things that I struggle with is just living in the moment. Like me, I have to have a certain routine or schedule. If I have that routine and schedule, perfect, I'm living in the moment, easy going. All right, I'm gonna attack the day. If I don't have that schedule or for like the next day, then I'm screwed. So like during the summer, like I have to do everything in a specific order or I'm gonna have a shitty day. If I don't hit the gym before I go to core, and I don't feel that pump or my blood flowing, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to area and have a bad mindset. So having that structure as far as living in the moment, I think it's great to have a game plan, but also too just living in the moment and not fearing what's to come, always anticipating or being anxious on the worst. I feel like living in the moment's one of the reasons why I did so well this past summer in comparison to previous summers, is I just lived in the moment and basically just said, it's time to quit being soft and just get after it and quit making excuses. Because that's one of the biggest things with conforming to society. Everybody in this world is soft and wants to be comfortable. And it's really just dialing it in where, hey, I'm living in this moment. That's what I need to do to get where I need to be.
Yeah, love it. Okay, last question.
Going off that real quick, so the routine is good, but there's more to it than just a routine. It's creating the habit and being able to do something consistently, right?
Yeah.
So talk about being in the moment. As long as you check off whatever your routine is, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the same order, but as long as you're being consistent day in and day out.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk a lot about that in our next workshop of how to find that alignment, how to be in the moment, because sometimes it's hard, right? It's like, I got all this stuff going on at home. I got this stuff going on in the doors. I don't know what to do. So next workshop, we're going to come into that. Okay. So we're going to break, go get some lunch and eat some food. And then we're going to come back here, I think at 1:00, and we got our second workshop. Okay.